scene with the creature at the end where he's kind of bought into Victor's tale of the reality.
Yeah.
And then he's like, basically, do your worst. He says something else, but he's like, basically, it's like, show me that everything that this guy has told me is true, kill me.
Yes.
Right? And the creature's like, oh, is that so? It's like, in that case, I will tell my tale.
Yeah.
And then we go into Act 2, which is what follows.
I mean, that is probably, to me, the single greatest scene in the entire movie. When the creature is like, I think he says that he has told his tale, now I shall tell you mine, something like that. And, you know, and it's just like, buckle up, you know?
It's a classic old way of doing things.
Yeah.
And I love it.
I love it. That split perspective, I love that. I think it's a very effective storytelling
Right.
device.
That brings truth,
Yeah.
ideally,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Once you get sort of everyone's story out. I loved sort of the whole sort of Danish crew and all that sort of thing, the captain himself. And so even though it's like a minorish role, he does a lot with it.
Yeah.
In a way that you're just like, he only gets however many minutes of screen time realistically, but you remember just like, it's a great character. So I really appreciate it. And I think driver of a lot of the storytelling.
Yeah.
Right? He ends up being kind of important in a way.
Yeah, I mean, there's a story within a story, and this is from the original novel, you know, about, you know, basically ambition and the cost of it. And this character is supposed to be another Victor Frankenstein, essentially. His ambition is exploration.
Right.
You know, and he's pushing for this Arctic mission that's getting his men killed. It's not going anywhere. This entire story is almost a cautionary tale for him.
It's the great lead-in, basically, where they're stuck, right? They're somewhere in the Arctic.
Yeah, and they're just stuck in the ice.
Right, their boat's stuck, and the men are not doing well. They want to go back, and the captain's like, nope, we have a mission, we're going to do this. And he's being told pretty clear, it's like, the men want to go back, they're scared, yada yada. He's like, we're going to stick to this no matter what. We came here to do a thing. After hearing this and really watching what happens, he's like, you know what? I think I've learned something today, and let's go home, boys.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
and that I think that aspect is often forgotten.
Right. Some things are not worth the cost.
Yeah, this is a pervasive theme in sci-fi, which I think people don't realize, you know, this early that it was in.
Back to the Jurassic Park quote.
Right, exactly. People don't realize
it.
that this is there in Frankenstein. You know, what's the cost of ambition? What's the human cost?
Man, is Jurassic Park just a retelling of Frankenstein?
I mean, probably. You know, that T-Rex.
Like, Michael Crichton is just like, I got this. I'm gonna tell it, but completely different, but also kind of the same.
You know, but in all seriousness, you know, I think this is the English student in me, right? Just in the same way a lot of fantasy, you know, stands on the feet of Lord of the Rings. You know, I think to some, both sci-fi and horror, these are kind of two genres because Frankenstein straddles both. In some ways, they stand on the feet of this novel, and a lot of people don't realize that because a lot of people don't know what this book is actually about. The horror of creating something that like pursues you, you know, you see that in sci-fi and you see it in horror. Yeah. And I think I would just encourage everybody who is interested in these genres to actually read the book because you'll start to see the references more.
Well, it's funny. I typically say I don't like horror.
Yeah.
Right. And my reasons are very straightforward. A lot of it is like, what do you call it? Jump scare and like body stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, what is it? The Substance? Is that what it's called?
Like classic body horror.
Interesting. Don't want to see it. It's a cool concept. Don't want to watch that. And like the jump scare, I'm just like, this is pointless. Like, what's the story?
Yeah.
Right? And so I'm not into it. I never thought of Frankenstein as horror. Really until I was talking to you about it. I never put it. I don't even know if I put it in sci-fi. It just was.
Yeah, I mean, look, Dracula is the same way, right? You have the million film adaptations, and they're all horror films, and you know. But you read the book; it's in some ways very nicely comparable to Frankenstein. Maybe we'll do another episode if you guys want. Right. But you know, that's also a book that I remember I read when I was in college, and I was like, "This is not what I thought this was going to be."
Yeah.
Right. This is about something completely different. This is about themes about, you know, fear of foreigners and immigration and plague and you know, human relationships and a bunch of other things.
It's an interesting story.
Yeah, and Frankenstein is like that, right? Like in a simplistic read, it's a horror novel or it's a sci-fi novel, but there's a lot of philosophy in it, which is why I was bringing up, Mary Shelley's background.
Right. So I think Frankenstein is probably what brought me into the horror genre.
Yeah.
And secondarily is probably Guillermo del Toro, because I watched a couple of his things and I was just like, this is a like, it's upsetting. And but like, when you tell a story, whether it's good or bad or whatever, you want an audience to feel something. And he's very effective at doing that. You watch Frankenstein, you feel a lot of things throughout it. He really pulls you in emotionally, and I think that's great. And it's sort of portrayed very well and captured on film by all these actors. Like, as much as we have some gripes over really what are writing choices more than anything else in terms of like the story.
Yeah.
The execution was good.
Yeah,
of that
this
story,
is a good film.
right?
It's a good movie.
The story that was written was executed brilliantly.
Yeah.
But we have some issues with some of those choices on the story writing bit. So I think I've realized, like, I actually don't dislike horror.
No.
But I am a little particular.
Yeah, and I'm the same. I mean, this is a genre that I'm very interested in, but I have a very specific thing that I enjoy, mostly because they say something about the human condition. Nosferatu is the other sort of big horror movie that came out within the last couple of years. I would say Frankenstein and Nosferatu are like the big ones of, certainly the last 5 years.
Sure. Okay, so I think we went through quite a few interesting things on the character and the plot.
Yeah.
Are there any other big things you would touch on that sort of left an impression, or you had, we'll call it, thoughts on?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about costume earlier. I love just fashion and style in general. I'm really interested when films these days put a lot of effort into costume design. You don't necessarily see that a lot, and I really like the aesthetic of this film, particularly Elizabeth's clothes. I did not really understand what they were doing with the colors. I've read some commentary on like she's associated with green, his mother is associated with red. But in terms of spectacle, I think they just nailed it with the costumes. I mean, the mother's red outfit in the opening scene, and she's got like a scarf around her face.
Symbolism, like
symbolism. And it's very big picture, very effective. Yeah. Elizabeth has some really interesting. She's got a lot of, I think, like feathers in her hair. Like it's not even stuff that I think is necessarily like I necessarily like it, but I appreciate what they're doing here. She's got these big gowns, you can kind of see all this silk, and she's got this like antique beetle necklace that's from Tiffany's. I read about it because I was very interested in it. And I appreciate the thought put into those costume choices.
They're not just like, okay, this piece takes place in like Victorian whatever, so let's get some Victorian stuff in here.
Right. What does the BBC have, in their wardrobe type thing?
Right, exactly. They're like, no, like, again, Del Toro is very much like that. Everything is very methodical, very thought out. And like, again, even if I don't love all of what he does, I just so appreciate his approach to making a film, to storytelling, to the craft, to all of it. I'm just like, he really is a top-notch director.
Yeah, any director that has that level of style, I'm going to pay attention to.
Right. And just like the passion, it comes through. It's like, this is a story he wants to tell.
Yes.
Like, it's not a thing that he was told, it's like, well, look, we'll pay you a lot of money, do you want it or not? Yeah. This is something he desperately wanted to tell. Yeah, and you
can just tell everybody in here. I mean, it's one of the things that I really like about this movie and movies generally. It's one of the reasons why I love Lord of the Rings so much. Because when everybody has committed to this and they are passionate about this and they love it and they care about this project, you, as an audience member, you can see it. You can absolutely see it. It makes it a way better viewing experience. Everybody's giving this movie 110%. Nobody's dialing it in.
No, yeah, exactly, which is great.
Yeah, a lot of attention to detail, just a lot of like really strong performances, and that's one of the real positive aspects of this movie. Nobody's like, it's another adaptation of Frankenstein, whatever. Right,
yeah, exactly. So overall, if you were to give this a rating, 1 through 10, 10 being amazing.
I think I would give it a 7 out of 10. Okay. I think I would give a lot of the sections with the monsters narrative a solid 9 or 10 out of 10. The parts that are very faithful to the book, because I think they're a brilliant dramatization. It loses points because of the plot changes that I didn't like. Yeah. But again, really good film. Like I have some big criticisms of it, but overall, it's a good viewing experience.
I give it slightly higher, 7.5.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I don't think it quite rises to the 8. Yeah. And that's because of some of those things. I'm like, I think some of the changes, like, this was not the move, right? Mm-hmm. Is it horrific? No. But given that you had this thing that I think is just arguably just better, and if you had taken his sort of style and approach and interpretation of it, and maybe that's what this was, in which case, so be it. And it just didn't land as well for me. But like, that's where it was. A little bit what you were saying is like, we'll call it Act 1, I don't know, 6. Act 2, 9.
Yeah, right? I mean, as you say that, I'm curious, and I'm not saying that this would have been a better product. I'm just, it's a genuine curiosity. You know, had you had a female director, and I'm thinking of like the one, like Mary Herron or Emerald Fennell, who's like a big deal now, you know, or even Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who doesn't do things of this scale, but is a very talented scriptwriter. You know, where would we have gone with this? I don't know that it would have been a better product, but I am curious about what that perspective would have brought, because like I said, this father and son perspective is a very male experience. And I am curious, would they have leaned into, you know, the childbirth analogy, which I don't think I would have liked either, but I'm curious as to how that perspective might have been different.
Those are great points, and actually would love to know from those watching. Throw in the comments, sort of if you've read the book or if you watched the adaptation or some others, you know, what you thought about it, what you agree, disagree with some of our takes on this. Maybe you have a different perspective. Would love to hear from you. And that, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Yes. And of course, if you haven't seen the film already, go see it. It's excellent, regardless of how you feel about some of the changes. And I hope you enjoy.
Bye, everyone.